Is moving. All right. Welcome once again to UC Santa Barbara's Office of Admissions overview for our admitted students, our transfer students. Congratulations and welcome to the transfer class that starts in the fall of 2026. You are here because you might want to live with us. And we have brought our community housing expert, Jen Burcham, to tell you all things about guaranteed housing. So without further ado, Jen, meet my new transfer admitted friends.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Jen Burcham. I'm Assistant Director for University and Community Housing Services. I'm a Gaucho alum. I actually came to school here in 1996 and graduated in the year 2000 and went to graduate school here and have 4 kids and have raised my family here. Um, and I'm going to give you more information about University and Community Housing Services. Next slide. This is going to tell you a little bit more about our office. So our office oversees university housing, which is the undergraduate residence halls, our undergraduate university apartments, graduate housing in San Clemente, and family student housing. We house about 11,000 students in university housing. And then the other side of our office is community housing services. We have about 10,500 of our student population live off campus, primarily in Isla Vista, but also in Goleta and Santa Barbara. So in our office, we have a rental listings website. I do roommate conflicts, landlord-tenant issues, security deposit disputes. We do a lot of one-on-one housing assistance for students, faculty, and staff who are looking for housing. And I do a ton of educational programming, knowing that for a lot of our students, they're going to be renting in the community, and this will be the first time. So going over leasing, subleasing, what it means about your rights and responsibilities. So this program that I'm doing today will be split into 2 parts. The first half will be about UCSB housing, and the second will be about community housing. So next slide, Kuka. Okay. For UCSB housing, all transfer students are guaranteed housing if they apply on time by June 15th. I want everybody to take that date and write it down, put it in your phone. June 15th is the deadline that you need to go straight to a housing contract. June 15th. You'll submit your SIR. SIR means your statement to intent to register by June 1st. You have until June 15th to get guaranteed housing if you apply on time. And you can also do a roommate group. If you would like to do a roommate group, you just need to do that by July 31st. And then you will receive your assignment in mid-August. Next slide. So we guaranteed housing for new transfers as long as you apply on time and meet the deadlines. It's super important that you're checking your UCSB email address. So you have a lot of you, when you did your statement to intent to register, also had to sign up for your UCSB email. Make sure you're checking that and your spam folder every single day, because that's where we're going to be sending all of your housing updates, but you're also going to be getting updates from the university as well. So it's really important to just get into the habit of checking that all the time. When you do your contract, you will get a confirmation email to your UCSB email address. If you did not receive that email, please contact our office so we can make sure that you did everything correctly. And if it went to spam, check your spam. But if for some reason you didn't get that email, check with our office. We can make sure that you submitted things correctly and on time. Next slide. You can do roommate groups. You do not have to. So if Kuka and I are both coming into UCSB as transfer students, I could create a roommate group, and the link is going to be in your contract confirmation email. I would go to that link and I'd invite Kuka, and Kuka has to accept the invitation for our roommate group to be solidified. So if Kuka, Shelly, and I all wanted to be a roommate group together, I would have to invite all of my roommates. They would have to accept, and then we would be bound together, and then we would be placed together into a space. Again, the deadline for this is July 31st. You also do not have to have a roommate group. We do a really great job of placing students together based on personal preferences, and that will be in the next slide. So we do have a housing questionnaire. When you do your housing application, it's really important that you fill out this questionnaire and you're as honest as possible. I know a lot of times you have your parents around. I think it's better for the student to fill this out by themselves and that you're really honest because we will be using these questions to place you with other students. So if you say, hey, I'm super clean, but you're really not that clean, then you're going to be placed with somebody with a similar preference and you may have some disagreements there. So just make sure you're really honest. Nobody's judging you, I promise. And then we use these questions to match. So if Kuka and I we decide that we don't want to live together, but our preferences are very similar, well, our computer program will put us together. And we have a pretty high rate of success for placing students together, which is pretty amazing. Okay, next slide. I do want parents to know that due to FERPA, so which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, that our office can only communicate with your student about anything related to your student's housing. So if you have questions about billing or where they're living or who their roommates are, all of this information has to go through your student. So if you call our office and you're asking us for billing information about your student's housing, unfortunately, we will not be able to give you that information. It has to come through your student. Your student's welcome to email our office and they could CC you on that email requesting whatever information they need and we'll respond back. But the main point of contact is going to be your student moving forward here at UCSB. We do have a disabilities accommodations process. So there are two processes. There's a campus process. So we have the disabled students program on campus. And if you're a student and you need accommodations for your classes or for campus, you go through the DSP program. Just because you may have accommodations with the DSP program, it doesn't automatically give you housing accommodations. They're two separate processes. So if you need housing accommodations, you can email our office at the email on the slide, or you could go to our accessible housing link on our housing website and we can send you more information. Our office in the Disabled Students Program, we work hand in hand together to assist our students, but they are two separate processes, so I just want to make you aware of that. Next slide. Animals in housing. So we don't allow pets in university housing, but we do have a process for for ESAs. So if you have an emotional support animal, you can email our office and we can send you the paperwork for that. You can also go to Accessible Housing Support Animals on our website and you can find more information about that. Please know that this is a process. So if you are planning on applying for an ESA, please do this as soon as possible because it does take time. Unfortunately, if you just show up to campus with your ESA, but you have not done the paperwork, you will not be able to move your ESA in with you until it's been approved. Next slide.
All right, I have a question. So any support animal, are there restrictions on what some of those could be?
There are some restrictions based on, and I'm not the expert in the ESA process. So you could go to the website. Typically it's cats and dogs. We did have an emotional support. It was like a gecko this year. That was new. We had a chinchilla one time. We've had birds. So there are, I think it will depend. It's based upon submission. We haven't had anything too outrageous, I don't think. Like a peacock or a miniature horse, they haven't come through yet.
Keep our fingers crossed that that doesn't happen. All right, here we go. I'll mute and we'll move to the next slide.
Okay, so our off-campus meal plans. So for all of our transfer students this year, and you're going to notice that this is a big change for this year, is that our transfer students are only being given the option to live in our off-campus apartments this year. And this is a big change because some of our last year and the years before, transfer students were allowed to live in either our residence halls or our apartments. And the reason why this is a shift this year is that one of our residence halls is being taken down to be rebuilt and refurbished. And so we have less residence hall space than we typically have. And honestly, most of our transfer students that choose to live in the residence halls typically ask us to move into the apartments within like 4 to 6 weeks of living here because they're living amongst first and second years, where transfer students are third and fourth year students, and in our apartments, it's all third and fourth years. So we do have an option for an off-campus meal plan. So if you're worried that your student's not going to eat enough, even though they have a full kitchen, you could buy an off-campus meal plan. You could buy 5, 7, 10, 14, or 17 meals. A set number of these will be for guest meals. If they want to have that, they can bring guests in, and they will be able to roll over 3 unused meals per week. Changes are going to only be allowed till the second week of the quarter. So if your student gets an off-campus meal plan and they go for 5 meals, they cannot change. If they decide week 7 that they want 17 meals, they won't be able to change until the beginning of winter quarter. The same for winter quarter. Everything's set this till the second week of winter quarter. They won't be able to make changes until spring quarter. These meal plans are offered on a quarter-to-quarter basis, and we have an amazing dining staff. They have vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free options, kosher and halal-friendly options as well. And we also have a dietitian. If your student has dietary needs, we can always connect you with our dining dietitian, who's amazing and can work with your student one-on-one. Next slide. Move-in weekend. So students will be assigned a move-in day based on their building. And this year, our students are going to be assigned by our team. And you may have heard in the past that students used to be able to self-select their spaces. This year, we have a change where we actually are going to be assigning students. And the reason being is with Santa Rosa, that one building coming down, it's giving us more flexibility to be able to spread the students out in the different areas. So we will be assigning students, which means that your students will find out where they will be living about 3 weeks prior to move-in. And at that time, they'll be able to be able to assign themselves a move-in day, and it will be dependent on which building they're in. So I do have a lot of parents already asking, hey, we're really busy that move-in weekend. I need to know when we can move in because we're moving in their sister or we have a trip planned. If you have to decide today when you're going to move your student in, I would just plan for the Monday after move-in weekend. That Monday after move-in weekend, it's all that buildings will be open. But if you're having to make a decision today or before the move-in information comes out, your best bet is to wait until after move-in weekend and move in on that Monday. Again, everything's furnished. I would check out our move-in welcome website. All updated information will be there. It also will include everything that is included in your apartment. And they have amazing, on our housing options, we have amazing 360 tours. So you can kind of get a sense of what's included. And then just so you know, we cannot mail or ship anything to your room until you move in. We just don't have the space to be able to hold people's packages. Like I said, you could explore our housing options. We have video tours that were filmed by students online at this YouTube link. And then on our housing options website, you can go to each of our buildings and there's amazing 360 video tours of all the different areas and the different rooms. We do have family student housing. So if you're coming as a transfer student with a family, whether it's a partner or a partner with kids, we do have a pretty lengthy waiting list. Families without children, the waiting list is about 12 to 18 months, and families with children, it's about 6 to 12 months. We do try to prioritize our new transfers with children if we can and if we have space. The family student housing application is the one application you can actually apply for before you've been admitted to UCSB. So if you do have a family and you are coming with families with children or as a partnership, you could always contact our office and we can make sure to send you the proper paperwork to be able to apply and get on the list.
All right, we have some family student housing questions.
Okay,
I'm
perfect.
going to throw them out there since we're on this particular slide. So,
Yes,
the Office of Admissions did send out on behalf of community housing a notice to transfer students when they were in the waiting stages that this was something they could sign up for. So,
right.
some of our friends have been on the waiting list since February or March. So, question: I filled out the paperwork. Is there a possibility for me to know where I am on the wait list?
For sure. I would say to email our office. Christina Martinez is our main representative in our office who oversees family student housing. But if you email housing@housing.ucsb.edu and you ask the question, make sure to include your name and your perm number or email from your UCSB email address, and then we can check for you where you are on that waiting list and how things are looking.
Nice. So is in this particular housing situation, is there anything outside of family student housing for new students where they can live with a partner? So not family student housing, apartments, I'm guessing is what they're asking.
So you could do a mixed gender roommate group. You could do a roommate group together, but you're going to be living with other students within your apartment.
Perfect. So that leads to one more question that came up. If I don't put a preference like that for mixed gender, are females always placed with other females? So single gender with single gender in terms
Correct.
of building and room.
Correct. We also have gender inclusive housing options for students. So if you're in need of gender inclusive housing, you can email our office and we will send you a gender inclusive housing intake form to make sure that we're working with you one-on-one in placements in a room or a building environment that feels safe and secure for you.
Cool. Okay. Whew, those were those questions about family student housing. Good job,
Perfect.
everyone. I'll mute myself and we'll keep going.
Okay, let's go. Okay, we're switching gears. That's actually was perfect, Kuka, for you to stop and ask me those questions because now we're going to switch over to community housing. I'm going to talk a little bit more about community housing with transfer students because not all transfer students want to live in UCSB housing. A lot of transfer students are like, I want to live in Isla Vista. So we have a community housing rental listings website. I like to call it the glorified Craigslist. Most of our management companies in Isla Vista post on here, and the only people that can view listings here are UCSB students, faculty, and staff. So you would log in to rentallistings.housing.ucsb.edu and you'd use your UCSB login, so your net ID and password, and then you can get in there and you can search by map view, amenities, rental prices, and it'll give you what's available. Houses, apartments, you can search by different types of leases, like by the bed space, a room and private home, a joint and several lease. So this is a great place to start on your housing search. We recommend that you review your lease before signing, and this is something that we can do with you in our office, but it's also something that you can do directly with your management company. So if Kuka and I are living together and we're just about to go sign a lease, it's really important that we read our lease together. We'll mark down all the questions. We can make an appointment with someone in our office to go over it, or we could just meet directly with our management company. I've been referring people back to the management companies because the management companies have been telling me how much they enjoy meeting their tenants and also knowing that their tenants have reviewed their lease. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a gold star next to your name if they know that you've reviewed your lease and you understand your rights and responsibilities. Next slide. So the main differences between UCSB and community housing is the UCSB housing is going to be an academic year contract where pretty much everything in the community is going to be a 12-month contract. UCSB includes all utilities, including laundry. Community housing usually pay utilities separately, including gas, electricity, and Wi-Fi, often water and trash and recycling are included. And at UCSB housing, there's no security deposit. We're out in the community that's going to require a security deposit and often a first and last month's rent. There are going to be two different types of leases out in the community. One is going to be a joint and several lease. which means that everybody's equally responsible for each other for rent and damages. And the other type of lease that you're going to see out in Isla Vista is going to be by the bed space. So you'll be responsible for your bed space and a portion of the common areas. So just depending on what type of lease you're looking for, those are the two options. The by the bed space lease, those have become a lot more popular because students don't have to have roommates. A lot of these companies will do roommate matching. A lot of times with by this bed space, it's going to be furnished. So there are big differences where the joint and several leases are going to be the larger houses, the ones where it's going to be mostly unfurnished, and you'll probably be moving in there with maybe a group of people that you've already know. It's really important not to sign two contracts at once. So if you have gone through the UCSB housing process and you signed a lease for UCSB housing, and then all of a sudden a month comes up and you're like, oh, I met some transfer students, we want to sign something in IV, do not sign two contracts at once. I've had a lot of students do that, and then fall rolls around and they're like, oh no, I forgot to cancel my UCSB contract. You're going to be legally responsible for both unless you find a replacement for yourself. So it's really important not to sign something unless you intend to stay there. Don't sign something as a backup plan, and never sign two contracts at the same time. Okay, next slide. So there are a lot of social media housing groups. There's things being posted on Zillow, apartments.com, Craigslist, Facebook groups. Don't sign anything until you check with our office first. So anything too good to be true most likely is. You probably aren't really sure about what the pricing is in the area. So always check with our office. If you're just not sure, send us screenshots of conversations you're having with the management company, the address, and we can look at it for you. There's just so many scams out there that we just want to make sure that you check with us before signing anything or sending money. Next slide. So we have a housing guide, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's being edited. We actually are in this process of having to make all of our documentation at UCSB accessible. So I actually have a bunch of staff working on this housing guide right now. But this housing guide came about because about 4 or 5 years ago, I was being asked to edit all of these housing guides that all these different departments had across campus. And it made me realize that that's bananas, that we should really have one comprehensive guide. So we got together with the Basic Needs Office and the Pardall Center, and we came up with one guide that we edit every year. So if you want to scan that, just know we're going to be editing it, but it's basically everything you're going to need to know for UCSB housing and community housing, rights and responsibilities in one place. Next slide. And I do like to mention these off-campus resources. I always hope that you're never really going to have to use them, but I think it's important for students to know, especially new transfer students, how many resources that are available to you for free. So we have the AS Legal Resource Center. You have free access to legal resources. Jessica and Robin are the lawyers there, and they're absolutely amazing. They do landlord-tenant law, but that's not all. They'll do any type of law. You can meet with them. We work really closely together on things that may come up in housing related to contracts or leases. But just know you have free legal advice. There's also the Isla Vista Community Service District. They have a really amazing mediation program. They can also mediate for not just UCSB students, but City College and community, and they're located in Isla Vista. And then we have the Isla Vista Tenants Union. They do very similar work to our office. Our office is neutral between landlord and tenant. The Isla Vista Tenants Union, by name, they're more tenant-based, but they do a lot of really amazing fundraising and events for students out in Isla Vista. Next slide. And lastly, I feel like I would be remiss to not mention our Basic Needs Office. I think this is such an amazing resource that students have access to. I feel like food and housing security go hand in hand. We have 2 amazing food banks available to students on campus. One is located here in the University Center, where our office is, and the campus store is located. Students have access to fresh food, produce, and toiletries multiple times a week with their access card. and it's just an amazing resource. And there's also the Miramar Pantry, which is located off campus over by our off campus apartments. So students can also go to the food bank over there. I do like to highlight the financial crisis response team. Again, I hope that nobody ever has to use this resource, but I hope to just plant this seed. If your student ever or family ever, you have a loss of a job or loss of income, and your student is struggling to pay for rent or pay for tuition, the financial crisis team is set up to help your student and support your student. Our goal is to try to keep your student in school. And so the financial crisis team is amazing. And it's made up of different staff and faculty from all the different areas, and they come together to support our students. So again, just planting the seed that you know that this is available to you if needed. Next slide. And that's it. This is me with hair. I recently shaved my head for my friend who has brain cancer, so I don't have long hair anymore, but I'm kind of enjoying the short hair. There's my contact information. I accidentally put a phone number there that is not my phone number. So ignore that and just email me. I am very responsive, so please email me. Also, our main housing information. So our phone number is 893-4371. I have such an amazing staff, and we answer that phone 9 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. And then the housing info email, we clear that out every day. So every day, at the end of the day, it's zeroed out to the next morning. So you will get a response really fast from our office. I often check during really busy times. I usually check on weekends, sometimes holidays, to just make sure that students are getting the answers they need, especially right before the deadline. Any of our deadlines, I'll be checking all the time. But I am really responsive. Take my email down. Please email me anytime if you have any questions. And even if it's not related to housing, I can usually connect you to someone in a different area. Whew, okay, that was a lot.
Uh,
Now I'm ready
and
to answer some questions.
I'm going to tell you, she really does answer email at odd hours, and she wants to make sure that you have your answer. So we have a whole bunch of questions that are more gen questions than us being able to type out. So I'm going to go back to the beginning and do this based off of a timestamp. So we did get some questions. Like, you're telling me if I decide to live in university housing, my option is apartments, and I can do a roommate group for apartments? Question mark.
Correct. So if Kuka and I want to live together in the apartments, what we'll do is we'll both sign our contracts. And then in our contract confirmation, there'll be a section that says, if you want to make a roommate group, click here. We'll click that link. I'll invite Kuka. Kuka will accept. We'll have a bound roommate group. And then our staff will put us together in a space.
Now, do we get to put any housing preferences on this application, or is it entirely decided for us?
So you can put preferences, but we cannot guarantee preferences.
Right.
So I know some students will get upset because they're like, I didn't get any of my preferences. We do our best. We really try to do our best, but at the end of the day, we really need to put heads in beds and make sure that students are put together with students who have either roommate groups, or if you don't have a roommate group, our priority is putting you with students with similar lifestyle preferences.
Preach on, my friend.
All right?
Preach on. That's right. I always tell anyone who I talk to about this, do not be aspirational. If I have a roommate who's a morning person, maybe I'll like mornings too. Never works out well. Be honest. Are you a slob? Then just own up to it and live with your people. And that's what Jen's going to do. She's going to put you together to live with your people. All right, next question. For roommate groups, can it be between transfer students, new students who are coming in, and an existing UCSB student?
As long as you have the same contract type. So if you're a transfer student and your friend also has an apartment contract, then yes. But you should let us know soon.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So current students have probably already started working through these for next year, right?
Right. So our current continuing students, they actually are going to be self-selecting, which means they're choosing their spaces in May. But if you wanted to be together, we would likely have them not self-select, and then we'd place you together during the new transfer process.
Got it. So is it all first come, first serve, or are there other factors for priority in housing?
It's not first come, first serve. We work through various stages. I actually do not do the assignments portion, or my colleagues who are amazing in the back of the house do. Um, and they have a way of putting people together. It often comes down to lottery. I'm going to be honest about how they're placing people. So they usually run a lottery that's totally by random by a computer system. So I may get lottery number 5,000 out of 5,000. So I'll be one of the last to be placed, where Kuka could get number 7 and she'll be like the 7th to be placed. So it'll just depend. And then if Kuka's 7, but I'm her roommate, I may get lucky to be placed early. So it just will depend upon where where you are in that, and it's not first come, first serve. It's
Uh,
random.
all right. So I'm a fairly young incoming transfer student. I'm going to be I am 17, and transfer students tend to be a little bit older. Is age at all considered as you're doing the roommate selection?
It's not. But if you are younger and you do want to do a res hall, we have a petition for exception process that you could probably fill out to ask to be put in a res hall if you want to at 17. But we do have students that are first year freshmen who are 25 and up, and they're given the option to live in the apartments. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
I
So
love
that's,
options.
yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And we're trying to have more options, and we will, if you all don't know, in 2027, we have San Benito opening. So we have a huge building opening in 2027. It's these off-campus apartments for undergrad apartments. So, and then 2028, Santa Rosa is going to be reopening, and 2029, we have 1,400 micro apartments opening. So a lot's going to be happening in the next 3 years, which I'm so excited that you're going to get to see San Benito's opening, and you're going to be a part of this new building that's coming on.
I'm excited for them too. And that's one of the things that I think you all need to be aware of. There next year will be a housing crunch. Not a bad thing because you've got your guarantee. But then
Yes.
after that, there's going to be a housing fund and abundance. And so deep breath in, deep breath out. Let's get through next year and let's not worry about what's happening after that.
Yeah.
Okay. Question. Apparently a whole bunch of people want to know about laundry. Does it exist?
Yes, laundry is amazing, and it's included actually in your room and board. So you can go, all the buildings have different laundry machines. And in the past, we used to have like these key cards that you would have to load and then use those. And we got rid of those. And now students could just go and do laundry. And there's actually an app that students use. So you could see like how much time somebody has left on their laundry machine. Yeah. And so you're, instead of having to just sit there and wait for somebody, you actually can like time it and be like, oh, those two machines are going to be empty in 7 minutes. So I'm going to go down there and wait. And then you put your stuff in. No more getting
I'm
quarters.
really bitter about life because that was actually part of the fun is sitting on someone's laundry machine until it was done and then
Yeah.
waiting for them to come in and never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, fun friends, here we go. Let's keep going. Let's talking about meals. Do meals roll over from one year to the next and or from one week to the next?
So you get a set, depending on how many meals you get for an off-campus meal plan, there's a set number per meal plan that will roll over weekly. They don't, my understanding is they don't roll over quarterly.
Which means, no, you can't save this
Right,
week's meals for fall, so you can't move it to another term.
right.
All right, cool. Is it recommended to bring a vehicle? Is there parking options in the apartments?
So parking is very, very limited, and we can't guarantee where your parking space is. So Santa Ynez does have parking. Sierra Madre has very limited parking, but there is the possibility that you could get parking and your parking will be on campus.
Hmm.
So I get a lot of students that are new transfers and they're in Sierra Madre, but they have to park their car on campus, and it's, they think it's far. To me, it's not that far. Like you can ride a bike from 10 minutes from the parking garage there, but we can't guarantee that your car is going to be able to be parked right where you're living.
Sometimes it's okay. And
It
that's
is
why a lot
okay.
of our transfer students also have these really cool bikes because we're a biking
Yep,
campus and a
we are a
community.
biking campus or a cool
And
skateboard or scooter,
all the thing. Oh, yeah.
rollerblades, roller skates.
That's not going to be me, but you do it. You
Yeah.
do you, boo. You
I
do
actually
you.
just got a pair of roller skates yesterday from my boss, and I was roller skating around our office yesterday.
She really
I
does
really
it, by the
was.
way. Okay, I've gotten five different questions about this. So
Okay.
Jen's been talking about off-campus housing.
Right.
And so I want to point out this is a map of UC Santa Barbara, and this is campus proper that you see in the green background, right? And so residence halls are down here, they're considered on campus. And then I'm going to go over and note that all of this is also green because it's land owned by the university. So we're talking about Santa Ynez Apartments, we're talking about family housing, we're talking about San Joaquin, we're talking about, oh God, is that Westgate?
Westgate.
Yeah, we're talking about Sierra Madre, right? So when we're talking about off campus, we technically it's on campus because we own the land, but
Right.
it's not adjacent to your classes.
Right.
Whereas
But when
this
you're
is,
talking about distance, I think a lot of people get like parents especially get nervous because they think it's that really far away. So Isla Vista, which is that square block, is about 1.5 square mile or rectangular miles. And so if I had to bike, and I'm not a fast biker, and I'm on campus and I have to bike over to San Joaquin, it takes me about 12 minutes to bike. And that's like on a beach cruiser with no speeds. Um, and there's actually a direct bike path that runs from campus all along San Clemente Villages, Santa Ynez, San Joaquin, and over to Sierra Madre. And there's actually an MTD bus line that runs back and forth almost every 20 minutes. And students have free access to the bus with their student ID access card.
you actually pay for it as part of your student fee,
Yes,
unlimited access on public transportation. So I will point out that that red line you see is the bike path, and you go under the way the roadway, so you're not stopping at each block. So you're just smooth cruising all the way through.
no,
And
there's only one minor hill when you go under the underpass and up, but it's not even like, I wouldn't even call it a hill. It's
don't
like
call it
a,
that.
a
No,
little whoop dee.
it's not a hill.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going back to roommate selection. If we make a roommate group, say 3 to 4 people, but end up in an apartment with 6 or more people, are the other roommates random?
They are, and that'll be based upon your personal preferences, how they're going to be placed in there.
All right.
So Kuka and I could do a roommate group, and we could be placed in a triple with a third roommate, and the third roommate's preferences will be based upon our preferences. That's why it's so important that you do these preferences and you're as honest as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left and a whole bunch of questions. Here
I'm
we go.
ready.
This is speed round.
Speed round, I'm ready. Here, I'm
There
locking
is,
in.
is there a max age for university apartments?
No.
Are there options for summer housing?
Yes, summer housing is going to be separate than academic year housing and will be in Santa Ynez, which is right there, Westgate and El Dorado. Whether or not your first, second, third, or fourth year, all summer housing is in the undergraduate apartments.
Oh my goodness gracious. All right, going back. So if I'm doing Transfer Edge in August, that which is a 6-week program,
Mhm.
is there an option for moving in early?
There isn't. You actually will do Transfer Edge and you're going to stay there for your 6-week program and then you're going to move out and then you'll move back into wherever you're assigned for the academic year.
Okay. Back to the family student housing. Family student housing. I'm on the wait list. Is it possible to get an apartment and secure that spot? And should family student housing become available, can I move in after?
Yes, but depending on your situation. So if you have a partnership, but the partner is not a
This is a
UCS,
child. They've got a child.
yeah, so we do the undergraduate apartment is for single student housing. So we cannot have a child in an undergraduate apartment.
All right. So there we
But
go.
email our office because we do like to prioritize families with students or incoming transfers, incoming freshmen, incoming grad students.
All right. I'm going to skip the questions about parking permits. We'll talk about that after. Question: if I signed a contract to for on-campus apartments, but find something off campus, is there a cancellation fee?
There is. You have until July 14th to cancel for $100.
I
Then you
thought
have until September 1st to cancel with a fee of $350. After September 1st, you're rent responsible with for a replacement and $350. So
it's more expensive.
it gets more expensive, and don't wait until after September 1st because trying to find a replacement in September is almost nearly impossible.
All right. When do UCSB housing contracts come out for the following year? I've heard that it's best to secure housing early by the end of fall quarter.
I am going to do another one of these presentations. I do it in the fall. It's called the Housing 101 program. And I will go over everything parents and students need to know about housing for the next year. And I usually do that the week of Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving week. Yes. All right, which is November for those of you who are not in
November.
the
Yes,
US.
November. Sorry. Yes,
All
November.
right. Because it's not Canadian Thanksgiving, it's US
It's
Thanksgiving to
US.
be correct.
Yes. Yes.
Question. Transfer Edge program. We just answered that one, so I'm gonna say that. For UCSB housing, do students pay separately for laundry? We just answered that
Yep.
one.
It's included.
Let's see. Can a transfer student bring a car? We've already answered that one.
Yep.
Can I have a small fish in a small bowl?
It will depend on the size of the bowl and the amount of water. I don't know the exact amount, so you can email our office and I can find the answer for you. But the answer is yes, but there is a certain size amount.
All right. There are limitations to things.
Yes, there are.
Yes. All
And
right.
mostly it's because of the amount of water that can happen if you have like a giant tank in a small room and something happens. Yeah.
Right. That's an issue.
Hey,
Um,
should I just answer this one because it's going to come up about a mini fridge?
oh, I haven't gotten to that one yet. Go for it.
Okay, go for it. No, I'll wait.
Are there resources that we need to sign up for early if we have the opportunity to gain access? Sorry, that's not a housing question. Go ahead and ask your mini fridge question.
So a lot of people ask whether or not they can have a mini fridge, and the answer is yes, just as long as it is 4.5 cubic feet or less. I usually highly recommend the ones with a little mini fridge on top or mini freezer because usually like the Ben and Jerry's little they can go up there and everybody needs ice cream every once in a while, I think.
We do.
Or Otter Pops.
Or something fun. If we already signed a housing contract for UCSB and we put a different apartment preference, are we able to change our
You
preferences?
can. You would go back to where you applied. So you'd go back to the application portal, you'll log in and just make sure to modify your application. Don't cancel it. Modify it.
Okay.
Modify.
All right. It shows on my financial aid, I'm in university housing. Am I able to change that for campus apartments? So university housing, campus apartments, you want to talk to financial aid about your award letter. We'll put the financial aid email into the chat for you momentarily, my friends. All right. Can you submit a room request with just one person, or does it have to be a whole group? We've answered that.
Could be one person.
You can have your one. You don't need
You
a
could have
lot.
your one, or you can have none. I went random, and I'm still friends with my old college roommates from 1996.
I went random too, but I don't talk to my roommates. But we were friends while we were here. That's right.
And
Um,
you don't need to be best friends.
you don't.
You
You
don't.
don't need to be enemies. That's it.
Exactly.
All
100%.
right. Question. Is the UCSB rental listing website accurate? I was looking through some of the listings and the links in the landlord sites don't work, or some of the information looked weird, i.e., some of the unit names are just jumbles of numbers.
I would say to screenshot it and ask our office. Some maybe they our landlords input the information and maybe they maybe messed up or maybe when it crossed over. So I would just screenshot it and then email our office.
All right. What's the billing process like for these apartments? Am
All
I
students are billed through their BARC account. So that is your billing account that your student can log into. We bill quarterly, but you can set up a payment plan directly with BARC to do a monthly payment plan.
And the question following up, is there a difference from if you're using financial aid versus out of pocket? I can answer the financial aid part. If you're receiving financial aid, you'll get a disbursement in the
Mhm.
beginning of the quarter, and you are responsible for paying your rent with that disbursement. So if you're setting up a payment plan for monthly, don't just pay the first month and then go, I have extra money.
Yes.
Here we go. Let's see. That was answered that question. We're running out of time, my friends. So, do you know which group of apartments are most popular? Westgate, El Dorado, etc.
They're all very different. So my suggestion is to go online and you can check them all out.
And that online page is fabulous because it does show you a video or images, not just a design.
Right. And if you were to go ask students, usually students will say the best one is the one that they currently live in.
So, can you give me like a rental range of what it costs for one bedroom, two bedrooms?
So you can actually go online and maybe Shelly, you can put that in there. It's if you go to UCSB housing rates, um, and there's a whole, so these are going to be the rates for this year. They're going to shift for next year. We don't have our updated rates for next year yet, but you can keep checking for us to to put our updated rates on there. And typically they do go up yearly, just so I'm giving you the heads up. We do have a cost of living increase that usually, varies. Usually it's about, could be up to 8.5%.
So I'm saying that there is a studio with a single as an option. How likely am I to get one of those if I want it?
Yes, our singles are not for general selection. Typically, our studios are for students with special housing accommodations, and they're very few, just a small handful. So please don't feel like that's going to be an option. If you email our office, um, it will likely tell you it's not going to be an option, and I don't think it's even an option on the drop down if you're in Westgate or El Dorado.
What happens if you run into issues with your roommate?
That's okay. So once you move in, you actually will be working with our student life staff. So every building, every floor has an RA, so resident assistant, who's a student, but every building has a lead staff member, and there's usually a complex coordinator, an associate complex coordinator, an assistant director as well, and they live in and they'll be able to help with a roommate conflict. We have a room change process, so you would be given a link to be able to choose a new room if you wanted to change rooms, and you would actually self-select your own space.
All right, for campus apartments, do I need a credit card to be able to live in the apartment
I
or
don't
a
think
credit
so.
score? Are you doing a check on me?
No, we're not doing any billing or credit checks and no security deposit,
Nice. And no housing application fee.
no
Look
fees.
at how nice campus
It's the
housing
best.
is. Good job, Jen. I appreciate
I do have to say that as somebody who's worked in housing for a long time for transfer students, I really feel like the transfer student option to live in UCSB housing is the best option for transfer students for your first year. I primarily help to oversee things out in the community, but I feel like for your first year at UCSB, you're going to be moving in, you're going to be living with other transfer students, you're going to be able to create community, and then your next year you can move out into the community in Isla Vista if you want to do that. But I feel like the UCSB housing experience gives students such a great foundation to being here, especially if you're coming from a semester into a quarter system here. I do feel like the UCSB housing, I call it beige. Like you want your housing to be beige, something you're not really worried about, no highs and lows. It may not be oceanside, but it's just there. You have a bed, it's safe, it's secure. And then your next year, if you want to go out Oceanside Del Playa, it's an option for you. But I feel like the transfer student housing guarantee is such a great option for your first year.
All right, what's the kitchen situation like? Is it shared? Is it everybody has their own fridge, their own stove?
In the apartments.
in the apartments?
So
Because that's where
every
we're living.
apartment has your kitchen that you'll share with your roommates. And there's cabinets and there's a stove and there's a some have microwaves, some don't. Some have dishwashers, some don't. You have to bring all of your cookware. So a lot of times when you find out who your roommates are, it's great to have that conversation so that if your certain apartment doesn't come with a microwave, not everybody's bringing a microwave. Not everybody has to bring an air fryer. Not everybody has to bring everything. So it's a great way for you to get to know your roommates and then you can kind of divvy things up. But there's a fridge, cabinet space. So yeah,
Nice. For off-campus meal plans, would we get the meals from regular dining halls or is
correct.
there we go.
Yep, you could go to any of the dining halls. There's Portola, which is out by the apartments, and then you could go to the ones on campus as well, Carrillo, De La Guerra, and then we have Ortega, which is a takeout option.
Nice. And it's amazing how vegan, vegetarian, all the things that Jen already mentioned, but how many times you can just go back and eat. So if you're a grazer and you want to stay there, they're not going to kick you out after 10 or 15 minutes. All right. We are getting to the end of our time, and some of you have asked questions a few times, so apologies if I didn't get to you. But I will point out that many of you are asking for sort of logistical questions, like how many restrooms are in the apartment, or the nuts and bolts of the lottery. Remember, today's session was recorded and it will be posted, so you'll be able to go back and hear that information. I will also say that we do have some specialty programs or some conversations with students. Those of you who've been part of the foster care system and are part of our Guardian Scholars because you've been homeless or part of a specialized group, you want to make sure that you're connecting with us with regards to our Guardian Scholars liaison. For those of you who have been in military veteran services, there's the Military and Veterans Program. So know that there are lots of different unique groups in that particular sense. We are at the end, and I know again we didn't get to every question, but I do want to point out that Jen is so amazing at answering her emails. I honestly don't know how she does it all. I'm going to put her information back on the screen and highlight that housing info at housing.ucsb.edu. So if we failed to answer your question today, you can't
Email
submit
them.
it. And she and the team are going to be able to get you an answer by tomorrow, worst case
Yes.
scenario. She might even answer some of them tonight.
Mhm.
And so I throw out and I say thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jen, for all of your past answers.
Thank you all. Welcome to UCSB. I'm really excited to see all of you. Come say hi.
For those of you coming to Transfer Open House on Friday, Jen and her team will be around so
Yes.
that you can ask additional questions at that point in time. I say it from the Office of Admissions as the Director of Admissions. Congratulations on your admission. You earned it. You did. And I want you at UCSB. So if we missed your question, don't forget to ask. On behalf of all of us, have a great night.
Bye.